Sources from both the central bank and finance ministry said on Friday that Sri Lanka has arranged $1 billion to repay a 5-year sovereign bond maturing this week, partly from its declining reserves.
The Ministry of Finance has taken steps to repay $1 billion for a maturing Eurobond, which was issued during 2014 government. According to Reuters, Sri Lanka has a total debt repayment of $5.9 billion during 2019. Out of which $2.6 billion must be repaid within the first 3 months of this year. It further highlighted that the $1 billion repayment is the largest debt installment that the government of Sri Lanka has ever incurred. Originally, the island nation's 3 state banks were to borrow up to $1 billion from foreign sources before the end of 2018 to pay off the loan. A government official who is aware of the repayment details told Reuters, asking not to be identified. Quote, "We could not raise the whole $1 billion through state banks, so the reserves also will have to be used to fill the gap," unquote. He decided to comment on how much of the reserves would be used for the repayment. A finance ministry official also confirmed that reserves will be used to settle part of the bond. Meanwhile, a group, including Finance Minister Mangala Samaraweera and Non-Cabinet Minister Harsha De Silva, are in Washington, D.C. to hold discussions with the IMF. Non-Cabinet Minister Harsha De Silva tweeted that discussions with the IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde will be rescheduled due to prevailing weather conditions in Washington. The Finance Ministry previously informed the discussions with the IMF will focus on obtaining the final tranche of the extended loan facility provided by the IMF. When Mahinda Rajapaksa took over as president in 2005, Sri Lanka had a total unsettled debt of 2 trillion rupees. When he left in power in 2015, following 10 years of presidency, Sri Lanka's total debt burden increased to 7.39 trillion rupees. 4 years after the present government came into power, Sri Lanka's total debt burden had increased further to 11.2 trillion rupees. It is clear, while Mahinda Rajapaksa had obtained a large number of loans in the 10 years that he was in power, the current government has obtained a sum that is closer to the sum obtained by Mahinda Rajapaksa in the 4 years that they have been in power.
New revelations have come to light that divulging Chinese loans are not the main source of the debt trap Sri Lanka is caught in.
Sri Lanka's total external debt exposure is not held mainly by China. First of all, China holds less than 15% of Sri Lanka's total external debt. Almost 50% is in fact held by international financial markets and sovereign bonds. Second, Sri Lanka's debt to China has been coming in at around 2% for the last 5-6 years, whereas international sovereign bonds are costing over 6%, 6.29% on a weighted average to be exact, up to the end of 2017. Thirdly, China's debt has longer cycles of about 19 years on average, whereas sovereign bonds have a cycle of 7 years, which makes Chinese debt cheaper, easier to recycle, and not a large quantum of our total debt. So Sri Lanka does have a debt problem. That problem has to do with the cost of debt, not just the quantity of debt. Neither in quantity nor in cost can China be considered to be the biggest problem.